Today we're continuing our series on the basics of enterprise threat hunting with Tanium from somebody who's been there, done that. Welcome back to GoTanium Tech Talks. You know, I thought we were going to get this show done in one long, maybe 2 episodes. That there's just so much, especially when I keep asking Paul questions. See, we've been talking to Paul Kelly, employee number under 25 here at Tanium. He's been out in the field using threat response, got some amazing stories to tell, and he's got a lot of experience. I really wanted you to see on this show because he's used threat response in the field as part of his daily responsibilities. And now he's back here at Tanium again, helping customers and helping us on this show to really understand the capabilities of threat response. You'll recall from the other 2 episodes I mentioned that we've got Converge coming up November 14th through the 17th. We'd love to see what you've built with Tanium. Please go out to converge.tanium.com, scroll down and hit that Speak at Tanium button. We'd love to get a chance to hear from you what you've done with Tanium. Also, as part of the series, there's a hands-on hunting workshop that we offer. It's a 4-hour virtual workshop. We offer it different times through the year. Go out to tanium.com/events. If you don't see it there, ask your account rep from Tanium and ask them, say, hey, when's this next workshop coming up? Because I'd love to get in so you can get your hands in the mix here in a virtual lab where you can play with the things we're doing on today's show. So, as I said before, Paul's an Eagle Scout with an eagle eye on malware hunting in Tanium. So, Paul, we've talked about now going into saved evidence and looking at where we got started with an alert. We saved a snapshot off the machine so we could analyze it offline. And then we were looking to pivot across the enterprise to see if that same malware is anywhere else. And now I think we were getting ready to go in to actually look on a specific machine to see what's there. So pick us up there and take us on to the next step in threat response.
Yeah, thanks again for having me, Ashley. This has been a lot of fun working with Mimikatz here in our environment. And, this definitely brings home. This is what I used to do for a living. And I enjoy having the opportunity to continue doing this and just kind of sharing this with our customers. So like you said, last time we were actually in here and we were working with alerts and showed you a lot of the workflows and the things that you can do, but we actually want to connect to that host and actually do a little bit more digging today. But we also want to actually show you, how do you actually remediate this, right? So I'm going to initiate a live connection to this host right now. And again, this is going to give us hands-on keyboard access to it as if we're right there at the console. It's going to show us all the process, driver, file, network, registry, security, DNS, and image activity on this host. And this is also so very valuable to an analyst because they have all of this data at their fingertips and they can quickly filter and really look for badness in here. And also when they find it, capture that evidence. And why that matters is that the evidence can aid you in actually creating a future detection or a signal. It can also aid third-party vendors because you can send that to them, or your reverse malware engineering team can actually unpack it. They can actually go and look at that particular sample as well and determine what it is doing in your environment. So last time we covered a little bit how you show the process tree and ask enterprise-wide questions and stuff, but I wanted to take us actually to where we actually pull some of this evidence and then how we can work within the database, if that sounds okay.
Let's go for it. I really want to see this connection because I know what's coming and I know how much fun it is. I guess it's not fun if you're in the middle of an incident, but as a technologist, this stuff's fun to me. Let's dive in.
So to continue where we left off, I was going to connect to this endpoint again, and we were going to continue our investigation in the Mimikatz. So earlier we had done an enterprise-wide search on that particular file and path and that PowerShell, and we got a hash, right? So a couple things that we can do there, we can quickly just search for the hash here in this filtered view. We can actually search for part of the command line and see what else maybe is actually even nested in that directory, see what other files that might be of interest. So that's something that I'm going to do right now in here. We're just going to use the contains operator. And I'm going to drop the PowerShell part there. Going to keep that directory. We're going to drop the specific user and the app data and the Chrome, and just keep the application in that. Let's see what comes back here. So, yep, sure enough, there is other activity here. You know, the creation here of this screenshot PowerShell file, right? Or the PowerShell inject right here. Wow, lots of good things. And oh, here's the bypass UAC token manipulation, right? So I bet a lot of these actually have corresponding alerts that I have not gotten to yet. So this is a point where I would probably pivot and I would go and check, see if there's additional alerts. But man, I gotta tell you, all these things that were just created, I wanna save these in evidence because I'm gonna have to look at these later. So I wanna actually go ahead and save each and every single one of these. And some of these might actually even be a little bit redundant here because you have taken into consideration the date timestamp of when things were created here. So lots of PowerShell.
So I have to ask, when you click that save evidence button, what does it do?
So what it does is actually saves it here in Tanium. So you have the ability to go and pull down that file, right? So I've got some file events here where you can see there's the file. Here's the activity, the summary of it, what happened, the right event, and the details there. And it gives me the ability to go ahead and pull it down. But I also have the ability to do it directly in the live endpoint connection. So in here, I can actually go and click right here and choose download file. Now, are you sure you want to? Now, yes, we are going to save this. So as you can see here, you can save this evidence, and then that gives the analyst the ability to go in here and actually download the file locally to their host. So we've actually already got some of the saved evidence in here. We had an analyst that was already working on this, and I now have the ability to go and download that. So I'm just going to search on the files here, and we can see here's actually the one that we were working with Mimikatz earlier, the step 14 cred dump. Now if I click here, it'll automatically download it. And again, it's going to have a zipped. This is the same one that I got earlier. Now, this is not the right host. This is not a sandbox environment. So I am not going to open this file. I would then at this point pivot and move it to a secure environment, a sandbox environment where I can certainly work with that PowerShell file and understand more specifically what it's doing. But you can also do that just directly within Tanium. And again, that's just by going to the live connection, which we were in previously. So we have the ability right here to go look at everything that's occurring in that particular directory, and we can see all the date timestamps here. Lots and lots of good information. So let's say, for example, this is just too much activity for us to really feel comfortable leaving this asset online, right? While we are going and doing this investigation. So
hey, Paul, I tell you what, hey, before we get too far off of here, yeah. I really want them to see the browse file system. That just blows, that is so much fun. It blows my mind every time I see it.
So with all of these events, many of these, as previously shown, were already captured and save evidence, but you can actually work with the data directly here in threat response. And that's what I wanted to show you here. You can certainly ask enterprise-wide questions, see if it exists anywhere, but let's actually look at the process tree. Let's actually look at how this ended up on the host. So I'm going to zoom out here, and I'm going to go ahead and minimize this because, man, this was a lot of activity here. So this was PowerShell that all ran all of these child processes related to Mimikatz, right? So obviously there's a lot that goes into credential harvesting, but in each and every single one of these, you can actually drill down into it and see what was it doing. Okay, this was actually doing a net user in the domain. This one was querying the registry, looking at current version policy system. This one actually had a PowerShell command, right? So you can see here, and there's the full command line of it. And you can copy all of that and search on it. And a lot of detection abilities stop right there, right? But they don't give you the actual full command line and everything that was passed in the interpreter to it. So that's super, super, super powerful. That right there is bad.
Yep, that's a base64 encoded PowerShell command. Yep,
that's
which
right.
Mimikatz uses.
That's exactly right. So that's, again, another indicator right there alone.
Mm-hmm.
So lots of great things that you can see here just by looking at this. This is the PowerShell inject script here. And just clicking on this process tree, we can actually see. And what else like is it shows you execution times. But to see that and look at the order of events here, you have to drill in just a little bit more. So you can actually see that 6 minutes after PowerShell running service host, then went ahead and initiated all of these additional commands with varying a number of milliseconds here in time. And then as I was showing earlier, oops, here's where it was actually trying to connect to the C2, evil.com.
C2 being command and control.
That's right.
The bad remote location, right? We can see the bad process hash there that our reputation service is flagged. Now, what if we want to go browse this file system now and see what else is in that directory?
Yeah, so if you want to just continue browsing that file system here and looking in the directory, that you can actually do right from here. So let's go into the live endpoint. And then let's click browse file system. What?
That's too fast. This is pretty amazing. Man. Wow.
Yeah, this is pretty amazing. Now, I had already taken a note here of the path. So we know that this was being executed under user Ed Jacobs. Where is Ed? There's Ed. And this was going to be under his app data and local. And then, yep, it was Google. And then it was Chrome. And then it was application. And then, this probably looks familiar. That was the directory that we were working in here. And then we might actually see some PowerShell script files in here. But man, look at all of, yep, sure enough, there they are. Upload PS1, PS1. There is some of, and there it is. That is the one that we were investigating in the alert, the step 14 credential dump right there.
Yeah, and if we check the box, right, we check the box next to that file, and then we get some options up there to download it. Yeah. So this amazes me every time I see this, and we can do this on Windows, Mac, or Linux. That cross-platform support is just icing on the cake.
Yeah, yeah. So what I've gathered from here is that these are all working files of pretty much Mimikatz. A lot of this is in here, and this is all badness. Now, what's interesting is that we've alerted on some of the PowerShells and some of the stuff, but not all of it, right? So we didn't see red hash detections for everything that was being executed, right? So there's work to be done there. That means that you could continue building on this and creating better signal intelligence, right? To detect Mimikatz and its components and activities, right? So lots of things that can still be done here. But at this point, I've confirmed that this is Mimikatz absolutely on the endpoint. I've gotten copies of the files. I've gotten a backup. I really want to isolate this machine. I don't want it on the network anymore. I know what it's doing. So this is where I would, again, go and quarantine it. And I can do that directly through the alerts. And that just takes us back here. So we saw this alert here for the Mimikatz right there. That's the one that we were working on. And if you click on, again, bringing it just right back home to the details under actions, boom, we can quarantine it. So we've done the snapshots, but things that you can do with quarantine, and this could be a completely separate session, by the way, is if it was a Linux host, we use IP tables, Mac PF quarantine, and IPsec for Windows. So this being Windows, it's going to be IPsec, and we can also just override and create a custom config below. But Maybe you don't want DNS. Maybe you don't want even DHCP. I would recommend leaving them enabled. Otherwise, you might effectively completely isolate it off the network. Allowing the access to the Tanium servers is absolutely required, just to ensure that you have the ability to remove the quarantine action and restore it, or maybe you need to take additional actions within threat response while you're doing this triage, such as performing a live connection. You want to make sure that you still have the ability to do so, or to pull and download a file, or create a connection to the host.
Yeah, and I can tell you that my favorite website, docs.tanium.com, has some fantastic information here about how to even create those custom quarantine rules where you can allow your own other tooling servers to access that endpoint. And it basically, I think when I've seen this with customers, the real benefit here, because customers might use a network product to quarantine that box, but when they do, it entirely knocks it offline. And then they have to go physically find the box and try to, get the forensics that they need. But with Tanium, you can leave it on, still talking to Tanium, but just can't talk to anybody else. And that's super helpful.
I actually remember those days. And I also remember the days where we used to walk around with a thumb drive and we used to go machine to machine with a scan engine and the latest definitions to scan it and remediate when there was infections. I don't miss those days.
Well, it looks like you're about ready to click remediation and enforce, and this is the final moment right here I want people to see. Yeah.
Yeah, this is absolutely it. So this is me walking around to every computer and taking that action. Now I can actually just sit in this chair and do it right from here, and I can do it across the enterprise. So we know that this is Mimikatz. We know that it's bad. We know that there was process associated with it. There was also the path here. And we also were able to show how we got the hash of the file. So different ways to take action here to kill the process. The path itself is certainly, that's actually the full command line. But the path itself, let me actually copy it from over here.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to kill PowerShell.exe on the box. That could impact a lot of things, right?
Well, some people might be happy, but you might upset some others. So the actual path that I had, not in the clipboard that I just put in there, is the path to that particular cred dump PS1 file. That is the one that we absolutely want to block. Now, this does support wildcards. And you know what? This is running an app data directory for local users. So we absolutely want to do that. You want to use your wildcards in this situation, and anywhere that we see this particular PowerShell running, kill the process. So in addition to killing the process, we knew that that file existed in that app data directory. Now, one thing to call out here, that actually requires a unique path, right, to that particular file. So I've already got it right in there. So there we go. So if we see this in that directory, we want it to go ahead and be deleted. Targeting here, we haven't created a special computer group for this. You could create a group for triage and add this particular host to it. We're actually going to target all Windows. And we are going to have it specifically have this user-defined group name for an individual computer. It's going to be right there, just that host is getting targeted. And if you want this to be a recurring action or to start in the future, you can certainly do that. I want it to be a reoccurring, and I'm going to reissue this, and I'm going to reissue it every 15 minutes, for example. Now, that can be a little aggressive. This is configurable. You can actually adjust this. So if you actually see it within a 30-minute period of time, you can delete it every 30 minutes.
So you're basically playing whack-a-mole with that one machine. If that machine comes up online and we find it and we see that process running, we'll kill it. We'll see that file, we'll delete it.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Paul, we're out of time again for the third time here. I think this is a nice workflow now. I think we've gotten through it from start to finish. So we started with an alert, and then we drilled down in that alert to find specific Mimikatz PowerShell, very popular commodity malware running in the environment, right? And so then we were able to get the evidence. We saved a snapshot. We could look at that even when the machine was offline. Fantastic. Then we're able to, once that machine's back online, get a live connection, investigate more fully, see what else it touched, and then remediate it. And that's really using the breadth of the threat response module. I know there's a lot more we can do with threat response, but we got to touch on enterprise hunting a little bit, got to touch on a lot of pieces here. So as we wrap up, anything else that you haven't got to mention yet as we close?
Boy, there's actually a lot, right? So this was just one example. And with threat response, you have full capability to detect and remediate threats just enterprise-wide, right? And I really want to advise everyone to check out the hands-on hunting course, because that's going to be hands-on keyboard, where you get to interact with tools like threat response, and you actually get to use the threat hunting capabilities and actually learn firsthand. And I feel like I always learn better hands-on keyboard than watching a video. While this might be instructive, I recommend go to your own environment and do this. Go find badness that's lurking, right? And remediate it.
Well, thank you so much for this experience tour of threat response today, Paul. Thank you for joining us on this 3-part adventure in the module Threat Response with our tour guide, seasoned experienced pro, Paul Kelly. And as we said before, check out docs.tanium.com. Check out the certifications, the training, the events pages on the Tanium.com website there under resources. We've got more out there for you. And thank you for joining us, being patient with this 3-part series. And this is here to help you. We also have our community.tanium.com site where you can go interact with others who are using these products. We even have some forums and a Slack place where you can hang out and interact live with people. So check out those resources to help you go even farther with your threat response skills. So that's it for this tour of hands-on hunting with Tanium. Until next time, go Tanium. All right, man. Well, okay, I'm going to go see Maverick here in
oh, nice. Awesome. So, enjoy. I have not seen it yet. I might see it this weekend. We'll see.
I watched it with a buddy last night, 2 nights ago, the first original movie, just to get my head back in the game.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I might want to do that.
Yeah, and then we'll go catch it tonight. So
that's awesome.
All right, man.
Cool. Well, no spoilers.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. All right.
Cool.
All right. Take care, man. All right.